whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Look at this insane video. A group of migrants in New York City are arrested after attacking NYPD officers in Times Square. 5 were arrested and 4 are already released without bail.
All right, the brawl started when 2 officers were trying to break up a rowdy crowd near a migrant shelter on 42nd Street. While arresting one of the men, the other said, hey, I'm not going to just sit there. I'll jump in. I'll start kicking. I'll stop punching the officers. After all, I don't belong in this country anyway. I could beat up an NYPD officer. What'll actually happen?
I think we get the message. What's up, family? Welcome to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays, the hottest live stream here on YouTube, family. We are live, and I'm coming at you with fire, ladies and gentlemen. If you're tuning in on Facebook, Twitter, or as it's formerly called Twitter, now X, or YouTube, whoever you are, wherever you are. I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Greetings, family. Of course, we are joined every Thursday night. We do this live stream, and we are joined by the one and only Sean James. Sean is the author of The Man Crisis, and tonight, of course, we're focusing on the question, do they have regrets? Because as you saw from that video, two police officers, New York Police Department officers, I believe this was in the subway, it looked like, I'm not quite sure, on the side near it, they were attacked by 5 illegal immigrants while they were trying to break up another fight. And at least, as you saw from the report, 4 of the suspects were released without bail, only hours after their arrest. And now many people, of course, the chief of police of duty patrol, you saw John Chell, they were upset about it. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office was upset. And even Governor Kathy Hochul is weighing in on it, where she suggests deportation is a possibility for the 5 men who attacked those officers. Now, Sean, you are in New York and you are the author of The Man Crisis. First off, good evening.
Good evening, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Do you want to do a plug-in for your books?
Well, the SJS Direct 2024 catalog is going to launch on March 22nd, and you can pre-order the first book in digital format, John Haynes Illuminati, at Amazon.com on Kindle. And you can also pick that book up and pre-order a digital copy on Smashwords, Google Play, and other online booksellers.
Yeah, all right. That's great. Sean, let's talk about this. You're from New York. What you saw take place from that viral video of the officers who were attacked by the group of immigrants, or illegal immigrants, as they say. There have been complaints in New York, of course, and other cities where they're busing illegal immigrants about the population doubling and them sleeping in certain places, even taking up schools to house them. That's something that Eric Adams and Brandon Johnson, respectively, have done in their cities of New York and Chicago, respectively. What's the feel like, because you're up in the boogie down Bronx, going out there in New York?
Well, it's a very dysfunctional state. They keep trying to gaslight us and tell us the city is getting better. But anybody who's lived here for an extended period of time knows that the quality of life has gone into a major decline from the Giuliani-Bloomberg era, where basically you had low crime, you had clean streets. You could basically even ride the subway at midnight. But these days, the whole city is basically a squalid mess. And it's a squalid mess that is it's like the days of the 70s and the 80s out here.
Yeah. So the search still continues, actually, for the 2 suspects, but I wanted to know exactly what did people feel, I guess, the vibe about what happened to the cops there.
Well, a lot of people feel that these cops were done bad. And yeah, they were done bad because the leadership basically enabled all of this. It was New York Mayor Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul, and the request, the virtue signal that basically created this entire situation, because they enabled a sense of entitlement in many of these migrants by rolling out the red carpet, letting them do whatever they pleased, and never really setting any sort of boundary as related to their behavior. Now, in the homeless shelters here in New York, for regular New Yorkers, there's a curfew, because I remember working with them at AmeriCorps Vista and them telling me specifically that homeless individuals had to be in at a certain hour, and they also had to be participating in things like programs in order to get themselves together. However, these migrants, as they've come into our homeless system, what they have been given is basically a way to just do whatever they please with no boundaries and no accountability. And that's all because New York Mayor Eric Adams wanted to go out here and virtue signal in an effort to try to get a job with Joe Biden. And he thought that he would be able to leave this to them. But the problem is that many of these individuals feel that since nobody's set any boundaries for them, they can do whatever they please, and that includes stepping over the authority of police officers because the mayor allowed this to happen. The mayor and the governor basically created the policy that let these migrants believe they could do whatever they please. So when they ran into law enforcement, many of these individuals thought they didn't have to follow the laws, one, because they entered the country illegally, and two, they were given a pass by the mayor and the governor. So many of these individuals felt they didn't have to respect the authority of the police. And when they ran into police who had basically told them to disperse, what these individuals thought was, oh, they could do whatever they wanted. And when this officer tried to enforce the law on them, what happened was they decided they were going to act above the law and start attacking police officers, including a lieutenant, showing how they had no respect for authority of an officer who was a high-level, high-ranking officer. And that was all because the executive branch basically gave them a pass. And now I believe basically what's happening now is they're all regretting this whole situation, because when you have people who entered the country illegally attacking police officers, you have a situation where the situation is starting to deteriorate. And what's even more troubling is that we have a district attorney in Alvin Bragg who basically created the policies that allow these guys to get out with the bail reform policies he and the mayor and the governor implemented. So they have basically opened the door for these guys to get out. And this is basically blown up in all of their faces. And what's happening now is what happens when virtue signaling goes wrong. What happens is that people start to believe that they're entitled to be above the laws of a country. And that's what many of these liberal politicians are learning, that when you make people above the law, they turn your whole society into chaos.
Well, I'm more well, the thing that shocks me is that they were allowed to leave the jail without bond.
Yeah, that was because of the DA.
The DA. So the DA is complaining about what happened to the cops, but at the same time they let them go. Well, no, that's also something on the police department as well, because they were released within hours. You know, when you have a bail, when you're arrested with a bail, and what bail is basically, or bond is set, is to make a promise that the person is going to appear in court. And that's what that is for. This was, I think, even higher up than the DA. This was the mayor. This was the governor.
Yeah, it was their policies that created this, their bail reform policies.
Well, their policies, but no, it's big. I'm saying, what if the call was made? Perhaps that they released this, because this was big. This is big news. This is something, this is the people of New York, the police officers, especially in New York, are watching this, because come November, when Donald Trump, I mean, most most police officers vote Republican anyway, but Donald Trump running for president, also Eric Adams, I believe his term is going to be coming up next year.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, they're going to remember this. They're going to remember this. And I'm funny you mentioned Kathy Hocul. She spoke and suggested that she would be for possibly considering deportation for these guys. Hold on, let's see what she had to say.
Asked to weigh in. These are law enforcement officers who should never, under any circumstances, be subjected to physical assault. It's wrong on all accounts. And, I'm looking to judges and prosecutors to do the right thing. She was also asked if they should be deported. I think that's absolutely something that should be looked at. I mean, if someone commits a crime against a police officer in the state of New York, and they're not, they're not here legally, definitely worth checking into.
Immigration lawyer Michael Wilds.
If they're convicted, immigration then has the option of pursuing a prosecution and deportation if they wanted to.
Now, police sources say the officer was released from the hospital in his home recovering. The lieutenant sustained a laceration to his face. The DA says the suspects that have been arrested face up to 7 years in prison.
And Lisa, are we expecting more charges in the coming days?
It is possible. The DA says they are still collecting evidence, new videos, they're interviewing witnesses. So when these suspects appear next in court, they could face additional charges. We're live in Times Square. She was also asked if they should be deported.
I think that's absolutely something that should be looked at. I mean, if someone commits a crime against a police officer in the state of New York, and they're not, they're not here legally, definitely worth checking into.
Immigration lawyer Michael Wilds.
If they're convicted, immigration then has the option of pursuing a prosecution and deportation if they wanted to.
Okay. So You heard that there. That was a professor of law talking about that. Um, I'm looking at this, Sean. I'm seeing more. I say I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised that these men were allowed to leave a jail without a bond. They have their names and stuff like that, but how are you going to find them? Especially if they're living on the streets, if they're in school, you don't know. They have no address, they have no home, more than likely. So how are they going to locate them?
Well, they're not going to locate them, and that's what
Yeah.
makes this a disaster. They're basically on a bus to California at this point, probably, or a bus out of the country. And this has basically become an embarrassment to the members of the Blue Party. They basically, with Kathy Hochul, what she's trying to do is flip flop and try to make it look like she's for deportation. But the whole thing is, you invited these people here, and you didn't understand what was going on with these migrants. I mean, if you watched videos I've seen from people like Paul Joseph Watson, where they talk about the migrants in other countries and how they've wreaked havoc, you would understand that this is what happens if you bring people into a country illegally. And what happens is these people, again, because they have no home and they basically came out of the foreign prison systems and they haven't been vetted, they go and participate in the same criminal behaviors here. And what's happened now is these people have shown no regard for our police. And what Kathy Hochul wants to do is get up in front of this because she knows that this is basically a mess, and it's a mess based on their own policies, such as bail reform, which allow these individuals to basically leave without any sort of cash bail and go back out on the streets for a court appearance they're not going to go to because these individuals basically know that even though they're in the system, they can just get on a bus and just disappear. So this is a black eye for all of those people here in New York when you have migrants attacking police officers because we're told the story, oh, all they want is a break, but we see that they're breaking laws because they already broke a law and got away with it by entering the country illegally, and they were invited in by the government. So what's happening here is basically the members of the Blue Party are reaping what they sowed, greater than what they sowed, later than what they sowed, and it's a bitter harvest for them that's basically turned into a black eye as related to these migrants. The same thing that people have been dealing with in other countries like the UK, like the European Union, and countries like Switzerland and Finland. They've been all dealing with the same issue with migrants, and it's all them thinking with their far left idea, oh, these people want a break, but all they want to do is continue to break laws. They have no interest really in building anything. And that what we're seeing is chaos in the streets because all of these people basically are caught up in their ideals instead of seeing the reality of trying to bring in people into a country illegally. And the whole concept of sanctuary city has fallen completely apart right in front of them.
Yeah, it's gone to shit.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you feel that so just from looking at it, your perspective, do you think that this is going to affect the election in November?
I believe it's going to have a major impact on the election because people see their quality of life being ruined by these crazy far left policies such as bail reform, the ineffective prosecutors like Alvin Bragg not looking to prosecute these individuals. They would rather spend their time with their Donald Trump obsession rather than going after real criminals like this. And because they're so busy caught up in Donald Trump and people like Jonathan Majors and clout chasing, what's happening is criminals like this believe they don't have to regard the authority of police officers because if they can get out with no bail for attacking a police officer, this is again creating the kind of chaos that makes voters really rethink many of these blue party policies that don't keep people safe, even though they try to gaslight us and blink us, try to believe it's about perception. We see a reality on the streets, and that reality is going to make people think twice before they vote blue this time. And I believe possibly Joe Biden and the Blue Party might possibly be in for a big rude awakening if they don't pull an abortion card and play to these women on their emotions about abortion. They might, because with the state of the economy and all these tech layoffs and entertainment layoffs, what we're seeing is an economy that can't really hold up many of these politicians as related to their policies. So These guys basically are looking at getting themselves voted out of office just on the migrant issue alone, because it was their policies that created this chaos. And we clearly see the results of their ideals creating real chaos all around us.
Well, don't forget too, Sean. My only thing too is that you have the Super Bowl coming up, and according to Vivek Ramaswamy, Taylor Swift is going to get everybody to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, you have to be a special kind of stupid to do that. If you let celebrities tell you how to vote, you're a special kind of dumb. I mean, that happened in
They
1992.
already Shannon Sharp said Taylor Swift is the closest we had to Michael Jackson. I can't fathom it all. She's the closest we had to Michael Jackson. Oh, she don't even have to dance, Skip.
You let a celebrity tell you how to vote, you're a special kind of stupid. I don't let celebrities tell me to do anything. I mean, I remember the days of Bill Clinton on the Arsenio Hall show and how it made a fool out of a lot of black people who wound up with a big bag and nothing.
Remember Vote or Die with Diddy.
Yeah. Celebrities can't tell me about who to vote for or what to vote for, because they're bought and paid for shills who do whatever the blue party tells them.
Vote or die while I astroglide.
Yeah.
Y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. And please, this channel is not monetized. YouTube has us on a shadow ban. So if you would like to donate to our channel, support us by going to the CashApp, PayPal, or Zelle, I'd appreciate it. GavinRichardEsq, GavinRichardEsq. Zelle is right there. Hey, money is tight, so drop something. Support us, please. All right. So I had, over the weekend, I did a video. I said, would Vince McMahon get the Diddy treatment? And today I'm learning some more facts, though, especially this is in regards to his lawsuit that was filed by a woman who seems like she was a former employee, but it started before she was an employee, per reading the lawsuit. According to Vince McMahon, as most of you may know, he was forced to step down after Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit alleging sexual harassment, assault, sex trafficking, among other things. And reportedly that there were explicit photos that McMahon shared of Grant to other individuals. Now, that is what our topic is going to be tonight. Now, Sean and I know I was a big wrestling fan as a kid. I'm not as much as I used to. I haven't followed it, like talking about it, though I still watch it periodically or from time to time. I know Sean is big into it. And now I have a question. Will Brock Lesnar and Vince get the Benoit treatment? Now, reason I bring it up is for several things. It's been reported, supposedly, that one of the individuals that's named in the lawsuit, they say is a wrestler who requested seeing a video of Vince supposedly, let's just say, going on to the restroom with the young lady. And a wrestler that the Wall Street Journal reported was none other than Brock Lesnar. Now, Brock Lesnar, very interesting. He was supposed to be at the Royal Rumble. His name was removed. He has not been seen ever since on any WWE platform. Brock Lesnar is one of the biggest names in the WWE, which is the World Wrestling Entertainment, formerly known, as I liked it, when it was called the WWF. That made it sound more masculine, right?
Yep.
World Wrestling Federation. But they got sued by the World Wildlife Foundation, so they had to change the name, which is why he says WWE, but WWF was better, my opinion. So we have here, this is an article where I'm reading from. So as a result of the report and allegations, we know that Brock Lesnar was removed from the Royal Rumble event this past weekend. Now, Eightful Select is reporting that it may be quite some time before wrestling fans see Brock Lesnar back in the ring again. If that report holds true, which is very likely, that given the circumstances, they say don't expect him to return to the UFC. because both the UFC and WWE are under the same umbrella. Last year, Vince McMahon announced a deal where he merged the UFC, bought WWE, but it now has become TKO Group Holdings, which owns the UFC, and Dana White, of course, is the CEO and the TK of the UFC, while Ari Emanuel is the CEO of TKO. And of course, Sean, the company brought on The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and his ex-wife, who owns the XFL. So PW Insider reported that Emanuel might clean house when it comes to those who work closely with Vince McMahon. And that could mean doom for any remaining backstage WWE worker who is labeled a Vince guy. And it may be the end of Brock Lesnar under the bright lights. He was supposed to have his last match. So Brock Lesnar may be all elite, or he might go to Impact. At any rate, Sean, I want to know what you thought of the allegation. Do you think they're going to scrub Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar from their pay-per-view events that are on the WWE library like they did Chris Benoit? We know, unfortunately, what happened with Benoit was that, well, unfortunately, his wife and child were murdered at his hands, according to the police reports, and they removed everything Chris Benoit. You can't mention him on WWE. You can't even, they don't show him on the library, anything. He's persona non grata. Sean, what do you think?
Well, if they scrub Vince McMahon, you basically scrub the entire catalog because he's in most of the broadcasts of WWE programming.
They just have to edit it. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah,
but it'd be useless because he's in the broadcast booth. I mean, you would basically have to get rid of most of the entire catalog if that was the case. And the whole case with poor Brock is that he's basically we would lose a decade of WWE programming because he was the main event of over a decade of WWE programming. So Endeavor would take a huge loss if they scrubbed all of that content. But the whole thing is that both of these guys, if these allegations were true, should have been watching themselves, because in this era of Me Too, you just don't go out here and engage any of these women at all. Now, I read the story about this woman's allegations as she made them, and it looks like to me that, according to her, that he was trying to make her into some sort of side piece / prostitute, and it wasn't really a smart move on Vince's whole point as related to giving this woman any sort of job around him or having any sort of social interaction with him in this era of Me Too, where a simple allegation could cost a man his job, his reputation, and possibly his freedom. I mean, if in this era of Me Too, where this alleged incident took place, 2019, we were at the height of the Me Too era, and you would have thought that Vince would have been smarter by hearing this woman's story about, how she had her parents die, lost her home, and was needing a job. The thing that he should have done, instead of getting personally involved with this woman, was basically go out here and send her straight to HR, let her deal with the women who run HR, and let them find her a job someplace. And that would have basically mitigated all of his issues, because any smart guy out here, what they would have done is said, okay, you need a job. I will go and have my people in HR find you a position that you are qualified to do. But instead of doing that, what he did was allegedly get involved with this woman. And then this is basically what led to these allegations of trafficking. Now, Brock Lesnar also wasn't very smart here. Dealing with being a married man who had 4 children, you would think he would have thought twice before he even thought about looking to ask for any sort of adult pictures made of a coworker, because that basically put his entire career in jeopardy. All I know is when you're on these jobs, you got to watch how you move. And when you're dealing with women on the job, this is something I learned way back in 1992 when Clarence Thomas was dealing with allegations of sexual harassment, is you have to maintain your professional distance. And you have to maintain your professional distance because this is how you be able to make a living and maintain your career at these companies, and keeping your distance from these women, keeping everything professional, and only being around these women when there are other women around or other witnesses around, or if you have permission to record that person to ensure that they cannot create a he said, she said situation. That is the way you protect yourself when you're dealing with these women. And Brock and Vince weren't really thinking critically. And
Well,
sadly, that's what led to them getting jammed up in this situation.
let me stop you just for a second, Sean. I also got to name there's another person named in this lawsuit. Now, Brock Lesnar himself, I don't believe, was personally sued, but because they do have in there, although they say unknown WWE employee that's mentioned, but wrestler that's mentioned, superstar that's mentioned, I believe, WWE superstar quote. So it's believed from the Wall Street Journal. They reported it was Brock Lesnar, but you also had someone that was named John Laurinaitis, who was an executive, and now his lawyer is saying the former WWE exec was a victim of Vince McMahon, not a predator.
Well, that's not what I heard about John Laurinaitis. Now,
Well,
he's had
yeah, I've heard a lot of stuff about. Well, we're going to talk about John Laurinaitis. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things about him. Now, he is actually the stepfather to the Bella twins. He's also the brother of Road Warrior Animal from a Legion of Doom. That's how I know him. That's how I know him. But yeah, he said, quote, through his attorney, Edward Brennan, he says that Mr. Laurinaitis denies the allegations in the misguided complaint and will be vigorously defending these charges in court, not the media. Like the plaintiff, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim in this case, not a predator. The truth will come out. When asked for further clarification, Brennan responded, read the allegations, read the federal statute. Power, control, employment, supervisory capacity, dictatorial sexual demands with repercussions if not met. Count how many times in the complaint Vince exerts control over both of them. A lot of stuff. You were about to say something, Sean, about John
Yeah,
Laurinaitis.
John Laurinaitis has been mentioned for years as related to being a serial sexual harasser and a bit of a predator. And he has been mentioned by many wrestlers for participating in some egregious conduct. So, I mean, the allegations have been made for years as related to John Laurinaitis. And his name has been mentioned way too many times as related to some really just shady conduct. So, when I listen to them talk about John Laurinaitis, I know, okay, this guy he's been mentioned too many times by female wrestlers. He's been mentioned by even male wrestlers for his egregious conduct. And this whole case, again, it was one where Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis weren't very smart. And all that is due to their quest for power. Because again, these men feel inadequate about themselves. So they were looking to, as related to this allegation, participate in subjugating and breaking down this woman. And as they looked to allegedly break down this woman, they basically put the nail in the coffin for Vince McMahon's career because he basically could have left in 2022 with his legacy, but because he got greedy and wanted more power, he wound up not only losing his legacy, but also lost his reputation as well. And John Laurinaitis' reputation was already garbage. And basically, we just get another piece of landfill as related to his already tarnished reputation.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, here's John Laurinaitis. This is what he actually looks like. Yeah. Now, interesting, Sean. That's John Laurinaitis. You know that Brock Lesnar is married to Sable. Sable was a big WWE diva in the 90s and in the early 2000s from the Attitude Era when they were pushing sex. You know, they dropped the Attitude Era, basically dropped the new generation as well as the old Golden Age WWF when you had the Hulk Hogan's and Ultimate Warriors where everybody was a superhero. And now there was a more grittier attitude with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker and The Rock, Mankind and Triple H, D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, although Bret Hart didn't stay throughout the whole thing. But that was part of that. And now Sable, if you remember, Sean, she had accused Vince McMahon and sued him for sexual assault back in the 90s. She filed a $110 million lawsuit against the company on sexual harassment and unsafe working conditions, and they settled the suit. Vince McMahon has been known and seen he's settled these lawsuits because they did an accounting of it last year when he stepped down, was forced to step down, and now there is an issue possibly in how those settlements were classified in the books, right?
Yeah.
So, and Sable's married to Brock Lesnar. Now she reconciled and got back with the company, and they did basically a storyline where she was the mistress of Vince McMahon. So I don't know. It's strange bedfellows with this because on one hand you accuse someone of sexual harassment and assault. Well, sexual harassment and unsafe working conditions. And then on the flip side, I know she didn't marry him then, but your husband, years later, who you marry, works for the company.
Yeah, but that's disturbing indeed. But that's WWE.
But if Brock Lesnar went for the money.
Yep.
He went for the money. WWE is the largest wrestling promotion in the world. I can't see how you can get rid of Vince McMahon because it's the same thing that people try to do with Bill Cosby. You want to get rid of the Cosby Show, take this off the air. I can't take Vince McMahon and WWF off the air because it existed. And he's the reason where it is today. Nah, same and with the same thing with even with Harvey Weinstein, Sean, I can't take Kill Bill off my playlist because he produced that and promoted it. Because then, how does that hurt doesn't that hurt the actors and actresses?
It does.
And the screenwriters.
They wouldn't get paid.
Right. Who had nothing to do with what Weinstein did.
And WWE would lose all. You wouldn't be able to play any of their content. I mean,
and I find the timing of this too. They did this right when they inked that Netflix deal when that lawsuit was signed.
Yeah, well, that's what these gold diggers do. They target for the maximum impact to get the most amount of money.
Well, what they did is they waited for this because now it's going to push for a settlement.
Yeah, that's what they want. They want a settlement with the insurance company. That's what this woman wants. This is the new trick they've had for a while, ever since Bill Cosby. They want to start these lawsuits in an effort to get a settlement from the insurance company. But I believe the insurance company is eventually going to start getting onto this scam, and what they're going to do is start taking these cases to trial, and that's where these women are basically going to be up crap creek without a paddle, because you've got to have evidence to back up this stuff. You just can't come out with claims and allegations. And insurance companies are going to get tired of paying out these settlements. And eventually, this whole scam is going to stop. They're going to stop this stuff once and for all, because you just cannot keep making claims and allegations of stuff without any sort of evidence, like police reports. Like when I listen to this woman's whole story, she's saying this man violated her. This man participated in numerous sex crimes, but you don't go to the police at any time at all. You don't go to a police officer or a police department to go.
So you don't think she was a victim?
Not really, because if this man is guilty of these sex crimes, and she's claiming sex crimes like federal sex trafficking, she's claiming that she was raped, she was claiming that she was sexually assaulted. And again, you would think you would take this to criminal court and not civil court, because if Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis are sexual predators like she claims, I would think that the first thing you would want to do is get this man off the street immediately, not wait 3-4 years and then take this to a court for cash settlements. Because if this man is a predator and he's abusing people, don't you want other people to not be his next victim? To me, that's more important than anything. If somebody commits a crime, I want to see that person taken off the street so that they won't be able to harm another human being. And with Vince McMahon being a serial sexual predator, as some claim, I would want to get this man off the street.
Yeah,
because that is, to me, the most important thing. He's not that powerful. I mean,
yes.
I mean, he has no political influence. I mean, he's got balls the size of grapefruits. He's nobody. I mean,
Welcome to Monday Night Raw. Hey, your butthole. I'm sorry, Sean. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, but if she wanted to do something serious, you would put this man in prison so he wouldn't harm anybody. But when these women come out here, what they want to do is circumvent the criminal justice system to get a civil settlement. And that to me is unethical, because if you're going to make a claim a person is a predator, then let's go and put this person in the prosecutor's office and let's get a case against this person as related to criminal charges. But these women don't want to go after criminal charges. No, what they want to do is get this insurance money, and that's where I believe this whole deal is people are gonna say enough is enough with the insurance companies, because they're tired. The insurance companies don't like to pay out money, and I believe that this gravy train is eventually going to end sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, Sean. At best, from what I've looked at, you have a situation where you can file a lawsuit. Anybody is entitled to file a lawsuit. And if she wanted to file a lawsuit, if she has a great sexual harassment case. But here's the thing. It started before she was an employee. He invites you over to his house and have dinner. You see him naked in his underwear, and he tries to hug up on you. And even at one point, I think of down the line, you knew he was married. You knew he told you his whole life story. And also, there was a complaint, an allegation in court in the complaint where they're laying down in bed and she says he could do whatever he wants, but he can't have sex with her. Don't do anything like that. I'm like, I'm like, really? Did you read the lawsuit?
I read a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
And if she invited him to do all that, then I'm seeing where this is
Well,
not
he
an
invited
unwanted.
her to the house.
Yeah, but that's not an unwanted It's the thing that she came over makes it where it's not sexual harassment, because it was, if this sexual harassment is an unwanted or
Well, I'm
unwarranted
saying
advance.
in a workplace it is.
Yeah, but since she wasn't hired,
Not at that point, but subsequently, if he was doing some things and telling her to do stuff that she said no to and he made advances, that would be sexual harassment. And that is and a few of those things are included in the in that complaint. The problem though is, I guess, is at which point does it start, is the line, because it sounds like if it was going for years and it started even before she was an employee and they had some type of arrangement that she agreed to, from what I'm seeing, because initially she said they knew he was married and he says that you got to have a private role in the company. Nobody has to know, but you were going to be basically basically a side chick. It's what it sounds like. Bells and alarms should go off in somebody's head.
Yeah.
If it's something that you're uncomfortable with, but the casting couch is not limited to Hollywood. It's not limited to Hollywood.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. The pay for pay.
That's it's even in fast food and retail.
Well, yeah, it's everywhere. We've seen it.
That's why I talk about my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace. Vince McMahon read that. He still have a WWE right now.
Yeah.
I sent her straight to HR. Let them deal with her.
Yeah. All right, fam. Well, yeah. So we're gonna see what happens here, but yeah, man. Vince McMahon. This is a loss of a. Well, I'm not no more than Vince McMahon or anything like that, but it's just, I guess you could say, a blow to your childhood when you see this stuff. But I mean, it's something I'm not gonna be crying over. I mean, you learn a lot. Our WWE heroes, especially as we've gotten older, we see how a lot of them are fucking scumbags.
Yeah.
Some of them were, like Hulk Hogan was a racist piece of shit. Even Ric Flair. If you watch Teddy Long's stories, Ric Flair did some racist shit back in the day.
Yep. That's why they say you don't want to meet your heroes, because they'll always disappoint you.
Yeah. Well, I don't have too much further, Sean, to say. If you wanted to say something or anybody got comments, G-Man was congratulating you. He said, excellent reporting on Vince. He did want to know, do you think WWE will decline at this point? Let me answer that. WWE has been on a decline for almost 25 years, in part because when Vince made it public, when he's put it on the stock exchange and made it public, now they had to do all of this reporting to the shareholders and stuff. Uh, he was going on TV. I can remember they were asking him questions about the Attitude Era, especially when they had the Godfather, Pimpin' and Easy, how you doing this with kids and stuff like that. The audience changed. He wanted to appeal. We had grown up in the 80s from Hulkamaniacs, and that we had outgrown that. Now it was something more grittier. We're reading Playboy. We want to see action. We want to see tits. We want to see beer. All this stuff. He pushed sex. That was the time of Jerry Springer, too.
Yeah, it was a time of trash TV. I mean, the 90s was a time he was trying to hold on to that Gen X audience and the millennial audience. And WWF had just come out of a major slump after the rock and wrestling era. And we had come into the Attitude Era. Then we came out of the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era. And WWE has been in a really bad place for the last, I say, 3-4 years as related to creativity. I mean, they're just trying to bounce back right now, but the whole Roman Reigns thing is choking off their life, because had they given Cody Rhodes the title, they would be in a much better place right now. And they are in a, like I say, a state of flux. I mean, Triple H is trying to get the product back on track, but the whole thing is they are not really in a really good creative place right now, because they just don't have, they're not really developing the stars, and many of the stars are being held back because of this whole long title reign stuff. So we're not seeing these guys develop and grow in their craft. I mean, we're seeing guys like Gunther grow and develop, but a lot of other guys are being held back, and they're not really being able to grow the way they are. But WWE is not where it was when it was the WWF. I mean, when it was, I grew up with rock and wrestling in the WWF, and that was a major phenomenon at that time in the 80s. And this stuff it's entertaining, but it's nowhere near Attitude Era or rock and wrestling era.
No, it's not. All right, fam, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Sean, if you want to make a final statement or push, what is, you don't know, I'm sure, what your live stream will be about.
No, not yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. It's related to the live stream. I'm still thinking about what the topic is going to be like. I mean, I've already talked about this topic that I wanted to talk about, which was about the Gen X men having to deal with bitter black women. But that may be the topic for tomorrow night's show. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But if you guys want to start picking up the books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, you can start picking up the paperback version of John Haynes' Illuminati on March 22nd on Amazon.com. And if you want to pre-order that digital copy, if you have a cell phone or an iPad and you want to read your books on there, you can head over to Google Play, Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Amazon.com to pre-order your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati. And if you want to get paperback copies of any SJS Direct book, you can head over to Amazon.com, Walmart, Target, and Barnes & Noble.
Of course, guys, if y'all want to donate to the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle, you can. But another way to support me is by going on Amazon Kindle and downloading The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. That is a must-have book. Speaking of Hulkamaniacs, Hulk Hogan was always a problem behind closed doors with backstage politics. Yeah, he kept, Hulk Hogan, and I was watching Stevie Ray from Harlem Heat. He and his brother Booker T, they've always said this, but Stevie Ray said Hulk Hogan was responsible for their push in WCW. He said that's the tag team that WCW should be promoting, and said their careers took off because Hulk Hogan gave it to him. So Hogan, he's done some good stuff. At the same time, I think what I've heard, especially from like Bobby the Brain Heenan and Ric Flair, they said he wouldn't work with people he couldn't make money with. Like, the reason why he wouldn't put Bret Hart over was because Bret Hart had trouble trying to sell seats. I've heard that. Same thing with, like, even with Ultimate Warrior. Warrior could sell and push, but he wasn't a great wrestler. You know, he wasn't great at built. Yes, he was cut, but like mechanics and wrestling and
The
stuff
ring
like
work wasn't good.
the ring work was terrible. I mean, as a kid, you're not thinking about it because this dude was big and he was, you know, when he shake the ropes, he could just attract the audience. That was his thing.
He could get a pop, but he could not work a
pop.
match.
No, and they couldn't make him the champion that long because he didn't let his reign as champion lasted less than a year.
Yeah, because he couldn't work a match.
Yeah. So they had to bring Hogan back.
They brought Sergeant Slaughter in, then they brought Hogan back.
Well, I mean, they build up the
Yeah.
build by bringing, when Hogan won that Royal Rumble in '91, and
Yeah.
then they fought Sergeant Slaughter, right? And that was around the Iraq War, so that was big.
Because some guys have a look, but they just don't have no ring work. That's what a lot of AEW guys got. They got no ring work.
Yeah, Sean, you remember the movie The Nanny?
Mr. Nanny,
Yeah.
The
Wolfgang?
Undertaker.
No, that was Suburban Commando.
Oh, that's Suburban Commando. I get them mixed up.
The pressure. The pressure. Very stupid. That was Sherman Hemsley was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna end this live stream, man. It's been great commentary, Sean. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on.
All right, and this has been another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays. Y'all give it up for Sean James. And Sean, I'm sure you'll tell us what the live stream will be about
But
tomorrow.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, it might be about Gen X women being salty over Gen X black men choosing younger women. That might be the topic, and it might be something else.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. Anyway, y'all, we're gonna wrap this up. And this has been another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays. Shout out to my brother Sean James. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in the next one. Be one, be safe, be blessed. I'll holla. Peace. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, G-Man. AEW, you asked is competition for WWE. G-Man, I'll just answer this right quick. I think they are competition, although AEW's quality, especially in their writing, hasn't been that great. Who they push over and so forth. I don't think it was like what they had in the 90s with WCW, because WCW with Ted Turner, they actually could push people over. And Ted Turner, as you know, was called Billionaire Ted. He had the monies in which to go toe to toe with Vince. The problem was that unlike WWE at that time, their writing, their booking got awful. The storylines that they did were terrible, like the finger poke of doom was bad. Killing Goldberg's streak, having Kevin Nash break it at that time, I think was a big disappointment. Goldberg is your biggest star. You have him wrestling Hulk Hogan for the world title on Monday Nitro. Now, it was insane. Great to see that. But just imagine if it was on pay-per-view, how much money WCW missed on that event. Maybe they might be in business today. Be one and be safe and be blessed, family. I'll holla.